This time of the year can chill the body and soul. Hi, I'm Bill Wasch. Today I'm going to learn about yoga and stretch and relax. Visit a whaling ship at Mystic Seaport with a group from Elderhostel and see what it takes to be a disaster volunteer with the American Red Cross. That's all today on In Our Prime. Depression in older people is often hard to diagnose. The suicide rate among older white men is 6 times the national average. I've asked some experts about this problem.
One of the typical scenarios is the elderly patient who's male, who's got multiple physical complaints, whose complaints are escalating despite the treatment efforts and despite all their tests coming back normal. It's important to extract the diagnosis of depression from this because we found that these patients frequently keep escalating their physical complaints and then suddenly suicide. And they often suicide even though they're being seen frequently by their doctors.
Elderly people tend to more easily voice symptoms of physical discomfort than symptoms of psychological discomfort.
As we grow older, we can experience losses and loneliness that can trigger depression.
Grief is a major factor in the elderly. There's loss of a spouse, but also there's a loss of a wider circle of friends, as unfortunately bereavements are such a fact of life in their social circle. There's also some grief about loss of function if a person has some physical disability or concurrent medical illness that would affect their ability to go out and do things. That's also a loss.
According to some estimates, about 1/3 of people older than 65 experience depression. Untreated depression is the #1 cause of suicide.
A typical suicidal individual, it's a white male over 50, living alone, divorced, who's alcoholic and depressed. He may have symptoms of anxiety and be under recent stress.
Many things can trigger depression in both men and women. People with diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or high lipid levels are particularly vulnerable to vascular depression. This type of depression is caused by damaged nerve pathways in that part of the brain which affects mood. An MRI can help diagnose vascular depression. It's important for family members to recognize the signs of depression.
Being able to sit down and actually discuss these things openly with their parents and try and really get a good assessment of what they're actually feeling at the moment, because often it's hard for an elderly parent to voice these complaints in a brief interaction in a doctor's office.
If you think you might be suffering from depression, talk honestly with your family and make an appointment to see your doctor or a therapist immediately.
Depression is not a normal part of aging. It's always abnormal, and that it requires fairly good treatment and a high index of suspicion that it's occurring.
These patients need more than just prescriptions. They need some sort of support. They need to believe that the physician knows how to treat the depression, understands how they feel. They have to have a chance to tell the doctor how this depression affects them and feel supported by the physician and feel some hope that they're going to get better with the treatment.
And as you exhale.
The French philosopher Henri Bergson said, "To exist is to change is to mature is to go on creating oneself endlessly." I thought I'd try something new this spring, so I visited the largest yoga center in North America, the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health in Lenox, Massachusetts.
The whole idea of yoga is to not only put us in touch with our spiritual being, but also to really give us some ways that we can stretch and move in a very safe environment to increase our circulation, to really get that synovial fluid moving in the joints, and to really learn how to bring energy into the body by breathing effectively as you're going through those movements. So the 5,000-year-old science of yoga has been around a long time, and it really does benefit. Seniors can enjoy doing yoga for many, many years, and we can do it from a chair, we can do it standing up, we can do it lying down. It improves their golf games.
It improves. And can you improve my squash game?
I can. Actually, there'll be some exercises that we'll be able to do.
Really?
That'll actually help to, again, bring more flexibility into the shoulders, really help with the rotation so that you can move quickly, and then also work on the quads.
There's a certain amount of meditation too, isn't there?
Yeah, the meditation piece, which really does still the mind. You know, our minds are going all the time.
Absolutely.
We're in the past, we're living in the future, and very rarely do we really settle into the moment. And even as seniors, we have a lot of worries on our minds. There's a lot of tension and tightness there.
So if you have any depressing things, this can really help you with that period.
It can. I think that our attitudes and what goes on in our minds affects our bodies, certainly. Some of that breathing, some of that meditation, and absolutely the movement really begins to shift the energy. We feel better.
Yeah. Well, you're going to show me some
I'd love
techniques?
to show you a couple of things. So we talked a little bit about the squash, right?
Yes.
And we want to begin first by limbering up the spine.
Right.
So as we did earlier in the class, we did that little twisting movement. Well, we can do that right in a chair. And we're going to start by taking our right hand and putting it on the left leg.
Okay.
And we're going to take our left hand and put it right on the chair behind us.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Now take a look over that left shoulder. Sit up nice and tall and look over the shoulder.
Well, this is going to help me when I drive.
That's right. And then release and come right over to the other side. Left hand on the right knee.
Oh, left hand on the right knee.
Right hand on the chair.
On the chair.
And then look over your right shoulder.
Oh,
Does that feel great?
it does.
Yeah.
Even that arthritis in my neck
Begins to, yeah,
feels
it'll
a little
respond.
better.
It'll definitely respond.
Yeah.
So the trick here is to incorporate some breathing.
Right.
So as you breathe in, you're lengthening your spine. When you do your rotation to each side, that's when you exhale and look over the shoulder. Inhale, lift, exhale, and twist. So in reference to the shoulders, if we bring our elbow up to the front of our body, take your left hand against your right elbow and sit up nice and tall again and just bring that elbow towards the chin. Ooh, feel that nice stretch?
Oh, yeah, that stretch in there.
Nice deep breath in and out. Always remember to incorporate the breathing. That's a big part of yoga. Release that down. And now bringing up the left elbow.
The left, I can't remember which.
Cup it with the right hand.
Right.
Take a nice deep breath in, lengthen through your spine, and as you exhale, bring that elbow right towards the chin. So let's do a standing one because the lunge that we do in yoga class can be done with a chair as well. So yeah, come on, stand up and join me. So we're going to start with our left leg, and we're going to put it right towards the back of the chair.
Okay.
And then the right leg is going to come behind us.
Oh, I see. Should I do it here?
Yeah, right there. Now you're going to slide that chair away a little bit as you lower down. Bend that right knee. Keep it right over your
knee. I'm a klutz when it comes to
Oh, you got it. You got it. Oh, he's doing great. Now, just pause there for a moment. Nice deep breath in and out. Don't hold the breath. Press down into that heel that's extended out behind you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So come on up. We always have to do the same thing on each side. So if you do it to the left side, you have to do it to the right. So now you're going to start with your right knee towards the chair.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take that left leg and we're going to step back. Now bend that right knee. Slide the chair out a little bit if you need to.
I got that stretch coming now. I can really feel it.
Does that feel great?
Oh,
now you want to look at your knee. Don't let it go too far beyond your foot.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so you're going to scoot your foot out a little bit more.
Okay.
That's it. Now standing nice and tall. And then come back up.
Perfect. Kate, you're terrific.
Oh,
Thank you
thanks so much, Bill. I'm glad you
I've
enjoyed
learned
it.
a lot. I really have.
Great.
I had just read a number of articles and so on that I thought denigrated older people, sort of sneered at their capacity to learn, and it made me mad.
I saw Marty sitting on the porch. And he was rocking in a chair, and there was this sign that said American Youth Hostel. And I looked at the sign again and I said, you know, if there are youth hostels, why aren't there elder hostels?
What began as an idea shared by two friends on a porch 30 years ago has blossomed into Elderhostel, the world's largest education and travel organization for older adults. More than 1 million older people have taken part in Elderhostel adventures.
We've just had a great time. They've been mostly active elder hostels where we have a naturalist that walks us through forests. We usually have a historian that gives us a history of an area, and then a geologist that tells us about the geology of the area. And it's a lot of fun.
Quality education and hands-on learning are key elements of an Elderhostel adventure.
And each one has a reaction. You compare notes, and it makes it all the more rewarding. And as a matter of fact, some very, very fast friendships are established amongst and between elder hostelers.
Elderhostel has expanded its offerings to include intergenerational programs. I joined a group of elder hostelers and their grandchildren at Mystic Seaport.
I've heard a lot about Elderhostel from my friends over the years, and they all spoke well of it. And I learned about this from other two friends of mine who had taken intergenerational trips. That's the hook for me, because then they recommended it. In fact, they really bugged me, exceedingly, to do this. So I found one, the right age group, and the right date, and generally convenient, and signed up for it, and brought my two grandchildren and a friend of mine to act as a surrogate grandmother. And here we are having a great time.
I'm from California.
You're from California.
And
you picked a New England March or February.
New experience. I think it's just wonderful. They're getting so much knowledge, and they're learning and having fun at the same time, making new friends and being in different places without their parents.
And it gives you a chance to really spend time with them.
You're right, quality time, because we're doing things together, and yet we have enough separation that it's fun.
Elderhostel is more than education. It's more than adventure. Elderhostel is a community of people who become friends as they explore their world. Type 2 diabetes has become a major problem in this country, and today we're going to learn about a diet that can help us, and Chef Michel is going to do it for us.
That's right, Bill, I certainly am. Now, interestingly, two of my children have diabetes, type 1 diabetes, but the diet concerns are almost identical. And it is their diabetes that really led me towards this cooking for well-being. And one of the first things that I learned that was very interesting was that carbohydrates are incredibly important. So folks that are thinking that they might want to go on a low-carb diet if they have diabetes should really refrain from that, because it's really finding the right carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates that give us energy over a long period of time and help us control glucose production. These are important. So we start the day with this great breakfast of steel-cut Irish oats. They take a little bit longer to cook. What you can do is cook them halfway and store them for the whole week and then draw off of it, and then they heat up just in like 5 or 10 minutes the next day. And then we add a little bit of these dried blueberries that you just picked. Diabetics generally should tend to stay away from things like raisins or dried blueberries as a snack food, but because they're a carbohydrate and we're blending them with the complex carbohydrate.
So the combination is
the combination of the two help them release over a longer period of time. So what we've done is gotten that great antioxidant quality in here by stirring it into the complex carbohydrate of the oats. Really great stuff. Now for more complex carbohydrates for dinner, we have spelt pasta noodles. And spelt is an ancient grain. The great thing about spelt is that it is a slow-release complex carbohydrate. So don't stay away from pasta. Just change the pasta that you buy. And to back into the soup, I'm going to show you the easiest lunch soup you're ever going to see. Now, do you remember, Bill, the flavor of really nice, perfectly canned tomatoes.
Oh, why? So young used to have them in a jar?
Right, in the jar.
Made them, and they're all winter.
Right, all winter long. My mom used to do the same thing. She would can. I remember she would sweat over the stove in August, can beautiful ripe tomatoes. It was capturing the like great nutrients when they were in their peak ripe, and then she'd open that can up and heat them for us. A little bit of milk in and mash, make a great tomato soup in the wintertime. So what I'm going to do is bring that flavor back, because now we have some really quality canned tomato products. So here I have a canned roasted tomato product. I just put them in this pan and heated them. So I opened the can, put it in the pan. Now I'm going to put it in the blender. And if you could do me a favor, Bill, and just grab that fresh basil. We know that tomatoes and basil love each other.
I'm not a great, but at least I can do this.
Oh, you're
right?
doing it. Yeah, yeah. Give me a few more in there. Just a couple more.
Okay.
We're going to grind a little salt. And then take a little bit, and this is just off the fire, a little bit of lactose-free milk. And we're going to make a creamy tomato basil soup. Now, all you have to do is...
It looks so easy.
Yeah. Oh, it's really as easy could be. Just a couple of seconds in the blender. And take
great.
A look at that. Now, if that doesn't look fantastic...
And you're gonna get a taste.
Oh, yes, you are going to get a taste. How is that?
That's exquisite.
Isn't that something?
Oh, it's marvelous.
Well, you know, it brings back the flavor of those good old-fashioned canned tomatoes. And I've been doing a lot of traveling to India, and the Ayurveds over there believe that tomatoes are key in helping control diabetes.
That whole alternative medicine.
Yeah, the alternative medicine thing is huge. And in the Amazon, things like wild, they use these naturally growing vegetables and high-acid vegetables to really help with glucose production and nutrient assimilation. So actually, they'll tell you to juice green tomatoes and drink green tomato juice. Now, that doesn't sound very delicious to me, but if it helps, hey.
It's as good as this.
Yeah, we know that the soup is great. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It's hard to imagine that anyone would offer to do other people's taxes. But that's just what happens when volunteers offer free tax assistance.
Typically, they're professional people, engineers, actuaries, accountants, and lawyers, people who've been retired anywhere from 1 to 5 years. They have done their trips around, and they've gotten bored, and they find that this is a way to keep their mind alert.
New volunteers must pass a 4-day intensive course given by the IRS. Then they're ready to jump in and help clients.
They come with shopping bags full of receipts, and they say, I know they're all in here. I'm not sure where. You would help them with that. Also, people where you go to their homes. Oftentimes, they're quite elderly. They can't get out of the house. And they will take anything that looks like they should save it for taxes, and they'll put it in a paper bag, and they present you with the paper bag.
Most of our clients are retired people. 90% of them come in with a Social Security statement, so that's the clientele we're dealing with. They're usually retired, but many of them have some part-time work, and they'll have W-2s, and so you know, we have a full variety.
Certainly the most important thing is to collect all of the return information that are needed, the Form 1099s, the Social Security statement that they get every year, any wage statements that they might receive, and of course we want last year's tax return, because we use that as a guide in doing this year's return to make sure that we have all the pieces together.
It's very confusing for anybody who doesn't do this regularly. They're just overwhelmed by looking at some of these forms, very justifiably. So they get the comfort of coming here, and we're kind of up on most of everything and can help them out.
Tax aid volunteers from AARP serve about 2 million people each year at senior centers and other community facilities.
You're helping an individual who has a need, and you have a special skill, and you can help them, and that personal contact is the main positive that you come away with, and a good feeling at the end of the day.
The first year, you realize you're doing something for other people. By the second year, you realize you're getting a lot more out of it than you're giving. You just, I go home inspired with how people cope with so many problems sometimes, how pleasant they are. It's just a very inspiring to volunteer for these people.
Many older people suffer from arthritis, and this can make it very painful to open and close doors. My first tip is a lever. And you can see this can be controlled with a closed fist. And not only does it unlock the door, but it makes it easy to open. My next idea here is a level entrance into the house from the garage. You can see that there is a very small threshold, easy to come in. As we get older, arthritis may get into our knees, and it's very, very difficult to move around. And if you can go in on a level basis, you're much better off. Another wonderful feature of this house is the wide open hallways. Very easy to get into the kitchen, into the dining room, into the living room, and a straight shot into the bedroom. Here's my last tip of the day. Switches, easy to turn off and on. They're called rocker switches. Easy to do. You just hit it with your fist, a closed fist. With arthritis, it makes it so much easier. And another wonderful feature of these are the lights that are on. It tells you in the dark that that's where the switch is. Those are my tips for the day. I hope they make your life easier. You'll often find Ginger Flynn at the scene of a disaster. She's on the job coordinating disaster volunteers for the American Red Cross.
The Red Cross is here today because there was a fire, and we're doing what we call family service. We're trying to meet the emergency needs of the clients with the food, shelter, and clothing. I really wanted to give back. I was at a stage in my life where my children were growing up and I had extra time, and I'm blessed with an abundance of energy. So I wanted to use my extra time in a way that I felt was very positive. And I saw the need with Red Cross.
The Red Cross trains volunteers in emergency preparedness, CPR, first aid, and human services so they can quickly respond to disaster in their communities. When hurricanes struck Florida last year, Ginger Flynn was in the thick of the action. Like many Red Cross volunteers, she crossed state lines to serve.
Florida was very difficult. People had been hit 2-3 times. I actually went down for Hurricane Francis and was in the hotel when Hurricane Jean hit. So that was a harrowing experience, I have to say. I was coordinating the people who were locally trained, who were Red Cross volunteers, and the great number of people who are called spontaneous volunteers. And they come in off the street and they want to help in any way. And as the hurricanes came, one on top of the other, we needed more and more people to help.
Red Cross volunteers work long hours in demanding situations, but unexpected rewards make it all worthwhile.
I did not work with the clients in Florida. I worked for the volunteers, and I got a lot of hugs and kisses because I was their advocate down in Florida, and they needed an advocate too. They were exhausted, working 24/7. Some people were sleeping on cots in parking lots. These are our volunteers. Some people were sleeping in the emergency response vehicle, so I was their advocate and I was helping them, which enabled them to help the clients.
You can join the 1 million Americans who volunteer each year. Call your local Red Cross chapter for information.
Red Cross is 95% volunteers. There is never any give back asked. It's the American people who are giving to the American people. You just cannot put a price on it. Puts a smile on my face.
Join us next time on In Our Prime, and have a long and healthy life. Let's close with some thoughts from Ellen Rita Evans.
Every day you get to live is a chance to start anew. What you do with each new day is wholly up to you. No one can live the life that's yours or tell you how to do it. No one knows your hopes and dreams, what you like, pursue it.
This program was made possible by
AARP Foundation, helping people find jobs, fill out their tax forms, making our communities better, helping to enhance our quality of life as we age. AARP, the power to make it better.
major support for In Our Prime, also provided by Masonicare, with additional funding from Qualidime and Sunrise Senior Living.
We are PBS.